Hi, I'm Stu Kagan, and welcome to Born Scrappy, the podcast for scrap metal exporters and traders. Join me in conversation with some of the most experienced traders and operators that have helped shape this incredible industry. In this episode, I chat to Dr. Salam Sharif, the Chairman of Sharif Metals Group. Dr. Sharif is also the Director of Advocacy for the Dubai Recycling Business Group at the Dubai Chambers. He's a civil and metallurgical engineer, graduated from Texas A&M, has his executive MBA from Cambridge, and a doctorate degree in business administration, socioeconomic sustainability from London. In today's episode, we talk about getting your hands dirty, competing strategically, acting early in a crisis, creative partnerships, and much more. So let's get straight into it. But first, intro. Hi, Dr. Salam. How are you?
I'm very good. So how you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm great, thank you, man. I'm excited to have you on the show. We've spoken about it for a while, so welcome to Born Scrappy.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been a chock-a-block amongst a lot of activities, some to do with the business, some to do with non-profit organizations. It's a mix of both, which is keeping us on high toes.
Yeah, I know how busy you are because I speak to your assistant trying to find the right time for us to lock in a time. So I know it's 10 o'clock at night now for you, but I'm just glad we could make this happen. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Let's kick off for those that don't know you, and I doubt there's too many of them, but for those that don't, tell us a bit about your background, what your company does, how long you've been around, and how you got into this industry.
So I would say a lot of the businesses like ours are back into the family business background, and ours in particular was really not out of the world in terms of having a family legacy behind it. My grandpa was a coppersmith, and he did it for some time until my dad took over the business, and he just had to evolve from a simple craftsmanship of a copper smith into a foundry business. That's back in the 1930s. My dad took over the business in the late 1940s. Now, I would say in 1957, he moved into the Ministry of Public Works, and where he was in charge of the foundry business for a while. He worked for only 5 years, and he thought, well, might as well have a little bit of entrepreneurship. He had to finish his working hours by 2 o'clock, and he never took afternoon rest. He just took the extra mile in finding a copper pile, and where he had to go and trade in his little old car, make a trip or two maybe just to earn an extra buck. And gradually he had his little yard. And I'm talking way before I was born. And right when I was born, I'm the eldest of the family. And the brothers, I had to really put a lot of the after office hours into his backyard, working with the laborers,
Of course you do.
putting putting some time and messing up my pants and hands, and get back with a little coins that were to me a lot of treasure. You know, my peers never had those extra bucks when they've gone for shopping. I was always the boy with extra money. So it was exciting until when I graduated, and I'm a civil and a metallurgical engineer. I had graduated from Texas A&M, and my dad says, "Well, if you work for a year or two for engineering, that's about as long as I can spare you out. We need you in the business." So I barely got my feet into the engineering career got me one project, and then my dad says, "Well, we need you back in the business." So that really took the glitter out of my engineering away, and I had uh, felt a little bit reluctant at the initial stages. Well, being an engineer with double majors, why to work in the scrap metals? I mean, that's a lot of crap into it. That's the way I thought about it back then, being thinking, wow, graduating from a very high engineering university, and I thought engineering is what really would make my career. But thinking about it from a different perspective, it was the right decision. Joined the family, took care of my dad's business from a domestic business into exploring that into a multinational business, and we became one of the largest exporters in the Middle East, doing about 25,000 tons a month of non-ferrous and close to 30,000 tons of ferrous in a span of, I would say, 15 years from the time that I took over the business. And that is when I joined business full time, it was in 1985. And I set up a new business as branching out of the main family business into Dubai, where I had little yard and I slept in a porta cabin. And believe it or not, before I got married, that was my home, a porta cabin in the middle of the yard. And my dad, first time visited me, he was like, dropped his jaw. He said, "What? What made you sit into this little corner of the yard and you think you call it home?" I said, "Dad, don't worry about it. When I get married, I'll move into a nice place, but let me get my hands dirty. And I want to bring it very humbly from the ground up." So that was a right start, in fact.
Mm. Yeah, you have to start on the ground level, and to make it your home is even that much better because you will live and sleep the game.
You got it. To waste time in commuting and traffic and stuff. I had a lot of passion into it, and I wanted to prove to my dad, you put a lot of investment in my education and schooling, and it's time to pay back. I got the grip of the business to where I had developed it from a very small local sales business into a multinational business, exploring the market and adding value. The little money adds to it a lot of flavor as well when you realize you're working hard and it's paying back. It is
Mm.
something that gives you the motivation on one hand, and on the other hand, coming from we studied the environmental engineering as well, part of the civil engineering, and we realized we had to take care of the environment. So I always thought the environment is not a byproduct of what we do. It's a basic foundation that we do have to take care of the environment and the surrounding as we grow within the business. So we label it with a sustainable future, and it is eventually become as a one of the prerequisites for you to really be able to practice your business. The environment became one of the regulatory that is essential, that you gotta meet those requirements. If you didn't, you wouldn't be licensed.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've been doing this for almost 40 years now. You must have had to make some really tough decisions. You've gone through so many things. I mean, in the last few years, we talk about COVID, right? But I mean, in 40 years, you've experienced a lot. What are some of the like specific deals or transactions that really presented a unique obstacle that you had to get through? And did you get key learnings for the rest of your career from those sort of issues that you dealt with?
Well, I'll tell you what, we did have some tough decisions to make, and we've seen a lot of turbulences. And if something would come up to my mind, I think it was the financial crisis of 2008, which has wrecked a lot of boats around our seas, and it has been really something that we have never experienced before. All of a sudden, with market crash, nobody's picking up their containers and honoring their contracts. For a while, I thought, well, I mean, you can't be so demanding or so unrealistic and expect everybody to honor their contracts. So why don't you, Salam, think of something that can be a little bit facelifting to the buyer at the same time, helping him to honor the contracts to where we become more on the win-win situation. So I realized it was difficult for me to take the losses and take the bullet. At the same time, it was difficult to demand from all the buyers to honor the contracts, considering the situations out there. So I realized I had to be practical. Most of my reliable buyers, I knew that they had difficulties. I said, listen, I know it's a tough time and I would help you to help me. He said, how does that work, Salam? We are in a mess and we can't clear out your containers now. We were shipping 25,000 tons and a lot of it is copper and non-ferrous. It was, if you add the math, it would come out close to $1 billion worth of sales those days on an annual basis. So I proposed to my close buyers, whom I would rely on. I said, listen, I would think of it that I would give you discount right now for you to pick up the metal at 70% value of the invoice. And he was like, really, Salam? That's a great treat. I would appreciate it. I said, listen, that's the good news. But the bad news is you have to make it up for me in the next 1 or 2 years at the latest. So now, if I give you a discount, I'm going to have a side book that you will keep also a similar book on your side and say the complete losses that we would have had if we would give you the 30% discount would be so many millions of dollars. And I'm talking to different buyers, not only one buyer.
Of course.
And you will make a side notebook that in every deal that we will continue to do afterwards, you will promise that you will add up some $20, $30 on each ton that you will be buying from me, which will help you to digest the metals that you'll be clearing out of the ports right now. But I will get compensated somehow in a parallel book in the next 2 years, and you will promise that you will do that. In fact, it was doable because I knew what the market was. If I had to sell copper at an X amount of dollars, which was the market rate, I would invoice him. If it was copper, I added like $50 on top. If it was aluminum, I added $25 on top. And we kept noting down those compensations that he found it as a facelifting way to honor the contract. I would get compensated in a matter of a year or two, depends on which contracts we were doing and how big the contracts were, short term or spot or long term. And it did work. And we were just, when we met afterwards, we were just remembering those days, how difficult time the decision was to take, and how easy I made it on them to really keep the contracts flowing and the relationship on top to be more sustainable. So it was a way that I had to, and I found it very smart and unique courage to take a decision at that time, seeing that a lot of my peers and my competitors, I know they had to go and salvage their containers out of the port, picking up the bills of ladings, go look for another buyer where they had to sell it at the market rate, paying a lot of demurrage. So I found eventually it was a smart decision because I took it at a risk of a time that we didn't have to pay demurrage. We didn't have to get the buyer to be burdened with the sharp drop of the market. So uh, it was something to be remembered.
Yeah, it's something I'll never forget either. Just going through that time, I was still new to the trading team in 2008. And I think we took bigger knocks than 30%. You actually got your money back in the long run, which is incredible, and you didn't pay all the demurrage costs. I mean, during that time, it was a bloodbath. Everybody was up in arms, and everybody was trying to speak to somebody else to find out, what the best ways to do it. So it sounds like, how early did you make that decision? I guess that's what's sticking in my head. Like, was it an early decision? Because it got harder later on because people were making crazy decisions, and then everybody else thought, well, that's the normal.
Well, uh, you know what? The sooner as you take the bullet,
Yeah.
is the sooner you recover. It took me about 2 weeks time. It was not
Mm,
something that I had to take it immediately because we thought a contract is a contract. But then I said, Salam, this is all over the place. It's not only one buyer. A lot of the buyers were
mm,
also trying to renege on the contracts, and the bigger their um, business volume was, the bigger the risk was. So I thought I had to compromise, keeping a thread of a relationship between me and the buyer. So it wasn't an easy decision, but it was almost 2 weeks time for me to realize the option B, which if I
mm.
didn't take the option A, I would have given more discount to a new buyer
Yeah.
because market was losing. It has lost up to 50%, if not even a little bit more.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember very well, market was copper like 10, $11,000, and it went down to almost $4,500
Mm.
to $5,000 on the LME. So
Yeah.
it was not easy, but yes, the quicker and the more courageous decision you take, the more the better outcome becomes, and the more trust you build on your buyer, so it become more resilient. And we cemented the relationship throughout this exercise. A lot of my competitors thought it was the right decision, which I never shared with them at the time because I thought it was not maybe the best decision. It was a personal decision that I took. But I've seen people going and picking up their containers from the ports and getting back their bills of ladings by DHL, and they had nothing to do except to either go and liquidate. To be honest, we did receive some bills of ladings from some of our suppliers that they had supplied to competitors, and they said, Salam, we had to take well, we were given back our bills of ladings and said, we can't do anything about it. You either take it now or you may even lose the full value.
Yeah.
And those bills of ladings came to me from suppliers who sold to my competitors. And they said, if we were to give discounts, we would rather give to you because we don't want to be mistreated with people who had reneged on their contracts. And we will consider it a fresh sale for you. And I said, you know what? If you do that, I will also promise you that you will get compensated in the near future by me trying to add up a little bit on your
Mm,
top line that will get you compensated. And it was paying off since I had given that treat for 2 years. So I had given a little room for my buyer to lift the metals, and I got
mm.
compensated in span of 2 years' time. Those very limited bills of ladings, I got them from my suppliers who sold to competitors. I, if you like, told a business for another 2 years where I promised them to compensate for them, and I was really splitting margins with them. I
Mm.
didn't lose because I didn't have to, but it
Of
was a
course.
treat for them, and I managed to really uh, club with a lot of new suppliers that they thought, well, Sharif has made a salvage situation that others haven't.
Mm.
I was proud of that situation.
Yeah, and it's so easy to look back in the past now, and people that'll be listening will be, maybe didn't go through it in 2008. And I mean, at the time, I remember quite well that people were like, oh, well, it's got to go up again. It's going to go up in the next few weeks. It's got to go up tomorrow. It's hit its bottom. And you're constantly worrying about, do I now go and negotiate something? Or what happens if it corrects and tomorrow it's up $2,000? And that was what we were constantly dealing with. So it's quite interesting. That's why I asked you how long it took you, because that early decision would have been by far the best decision anybody made, because everybody was trying to see it out and wait for it to recover. Um, but then I look at COVID, and I should have made some really stronger decisions early on, not knowing it was going to last for as long as it did, specifically in New Zealand, how long we were locked down for. Um, it's a hard decision to make, right?
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes the best decisions that you take are not necessarily are when it is an easy going.
Mm,
Okay, it's like when the going gets tough, the tough gets going.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
it's a
exactly.
decision you gotta take with a calculated risk, and it has to be so courageous that it's gotta be timely. If you don't take a timely decision, you miss the boat, and
Mm,
you think, well, I should have done something and have taken a decision. I know sometimes it's difficult, but back into the 2008 is when we're doing a back-to-back business on spot business, and then at that time, maybe I was the first ones in the Middle East who had done the full hedging mechanism for copper and the most volatile metals like copper, aluminum, and lead. And times when I had given discounts on my buyer's book, that is something I didn't disclose to them, but I had bought something on the LME
mm, mm,
because I had sold at losses, right?
of course.
And I thought, what if the market bounced back, Salam? You will be going back and remorsing over it. What a stupid decision I would have made if I would looked at it into 3 months later and market bounced back from $4,500 copper back into $7,000. What would you think you've done? It would be a nail in the coffin. So I said, well, I would go and hedge my metals. Bought, sold at loss, and bought on the LME.
Mm,
So as market went up, to be honest, LME has paid me off. I didn't tell those buyers who were compensating me for the next 2 years because it was their
of
liability and
course.
their duty to do that. But I did my homework on the other hand that I bought on the LME, thinking
Mm,
that, well, if the LME had gone further down, I wouldn't be losing much. The risk will be pretty much calculated,
mm,
looking into the historic data and all that crap, which didn't pay much off because at the time this has gone up to that level. Those were more of a, if you like, unhistorical prices for copper and aluminum,
mm,
going back into the old days when copper maximum has hit $3,000. These numbers were unprecedented. But I said on the going down, there'll be a limited risk. But if the going higher side, if I had missed the boat, I would really not forgive myself. So having bought on the LME at that time in a physical hedge position, it had really compensated quite a bit.
You know how constantly commodity traders or metal recyclers, you're always hoping to sell at the peak. Everybody's like, I want to buy at the lowest and sell on the peak. In 2008, we all sold on the peak, but we didn't get paid. It's it's like it doesn't matter how well you read the market. Sometimes if you sell at the highest, it's not actually the best thing for you, because as soon as the market comes off, you've got issues on the other side. I hadn't actually thought about that before until right now.
Well, personally, I have never thought of selling at the peak and buying at the bottom because I'm not a market maker. Okay.
Yeah.
I know that I'm a recycler with a day to day trading. Um, and I know that for me to cope with the market ups and downs, I have to sell low, sell high, as long as I mark up my little margin out there and I'm content about what I'm making and it goes within my budget, that keeps me liquid. I'm not an
And
opportunist trader. I'm a market player where I am there in good times and in bad times. And that's what keeps me on top of the other traditional traders or merchants who thought, you know what? What the heck? I sat on the metal for another 6 months.
yeah,
Uh, Nothing will go wrong. Market will go up. I still have the value of my metals. Okay, but time is of the essence. I work on my margins and my turnover. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't hit the $1 billion sale by the end of the year. And I wanted to do that volume to keep me on top of the market. And also, uh, you know what? I would sell copper in the same day at three, four different values. Morning, I would sell 9 o'clock one copper batch, which could be 100 tons. I could sell around noontime another batch of 100 tons, which could be either 100 or $200 higher or even $80 lower. I didn't care. It's a back to back, and I'm keeping my margin squeezed in. Keep it going, baby. That's the name of the game.
yeah, keep turning. And that's why you probably sleep so well at night.
Absolutely. I never had to really take sleeping pills. I never worried about
Yeah,
markets going up or down. My exposure is covered. So it's
yeah,
just another
yeah.
day.
Um, Dr. Salam, tell me, we're speaking about making hard decisions, but a lot of people, my favorite word, collaboration, a lot of people work together. When you have to make some of these decisions, how have you collaborated with people over time? Do you reach out to people in associations? Do you have certain friends in the industry? How are you collaborating?
Well, I'll give you some of what I've done over the past 20 years, and it's not a secret because all my competitors came to know about it 5 years later. I had different branches in different parts of the Middle East, and I thought that's not very smart, Salam. You can't be available with your physical operation and with your unique management all over the place. It's not a franchise business, okay? So I had developed the rapport and the relationship with a lot of my suppliers that I visited their homes, I dined with their family, I invited them to my home, they dined with my family. The relationship became more solid. I visited them almost four times a year if they were in Saudi or in different parts of the world because my headquarters is in Dubai. And I didn't want to replicate my setup in different places. So I thought I would work with them in what I call a backward integration. They were selling to the market to some of my competitors, and they were losing a lot of opportunities by selling to my competitors because everybody wanted to make margins. Me sitting in Dubai and not physically having the cost of operations in the Saudi or in different parts of the Middle East, I set up the synergy by financing them on a weekly basis that had related to some of the contracts that were specific. Well, to go a little bit back into history, they were supplying metals to my yards in Dubai through trailers across the borders. But after the Gulf War, for a lot of transboundary regulatories and security issues post the Gulf War, the trailers transportations were banned. So visiting them, inviting them into my facilities, sharing the know-how of the packaging with them and the quality control, giving them some of my equipments on their size, fit of the operations. Me giving the small machines out to them at a nominal cost, me buying the bigger machines, which is more, if you like, automatic, which could cope with a bulk of the quantities productions. They were happy that I gave them equipment to lift their business up from local suppliers into real packers, where the press machines, the alligator shears, all the caper strippers, which they were to them dream to get one of those equipments, they wouldn't afford it. They couldn't afford it. So me giving them that out, and I said, don't worry about the capex. You pay me through the tonnage of your operations. We put $50 on top of each ton that you supply to pay back for the equipment.
Mm.
They didn't feel the burden of having to really finance a lot of capex. I disposed of my old machines, which were smaller to my capacity. So we've grown together. They've grown
Mm.
from ground up to a limited size, which I have outpaced it in multiples of times. I renewed my equipment with a bigger capacity. I've grown the volume together. So it was a great synergy. I had financed them on a weekly basis. Uh, I remember one of the three major suppliers, they were on the average getting $1 million weekly from my finance. But I made sure I would get the metals back by the end of the week, which closes the book of $1 million. And if they didn't, I wouldn't refinance until that first uh, batch was already supplied out with certain metals. They felt they were part of the race. They wouldn't imagine that they could, in a span of a year or two working with Sharif, that they could really work on the triple the volume of what they used to do by the finances and the equipment. So we had grown together. And it's one of the tactics that I have taken on a calculated risk by KYC. And until
Mm.
now, my sons are working with their sons as second generations. And we meet with as bosses and we think, remember when we in the 80s we used to do this, and now our sons are enjoying the business. We got to be on top of it just to make sure they follow the trade practices and simply, follow the legacy, and we enjoy the relationship as it goes further. It's really a life journey that I can always say I'm proud of what is being developed, and we had worked together on a win-win situation.
Mm. That's a great example of collaboration. I mean, if you can make collaboration benefit you with your customers, that's incredible. So, and what a win-win. I mean, you got to get rid of your own equipment that you had no need for anyway, and it brought you a huge amount of supply and goodwill from those suppliers. So that's awesome. If you could give any of our listeners a couple of tips and tricks on how to optimize their trading strategy, what would those be?
Well, I would say this: never think of a one winning deal that could be a shortcut. Always think, how can I buy next year from the same supplier with a bigger volume and get the teething done on a smaller volume as you grow together. So
Mm.
never bite a big chunk where you end up in getting an expensive experience with your supplier. Work on a slow and steady basis. Try to get the operational synergy together, because it's not only the commercial. You may have a very successful commercial deal, but if the logistics and the back office paperwork is not in tandem, you end up in getting tangled with a lot of operational issues. So I had brought my suppliers to my head office and they worked with my team. We always made groups and I was on top of it. to see that any problem gets immediately sorted out. We don't leave anything pending. We meet around my desk where in my office, very practical, connected or extended desk near to my big table where it fits 5 chairs, not to go to the conference room and just to make it so formal, right there and then. Bring the problem out here. Let's nail it as we speak. If any problem, call the other side of the supplier, tackle it out, move it, and go to the next problem. I would love to hear some problems that they would not be able to sort out in the office because I believe I'm a good troubleshooter, and I would give out of that example a little training to my guys and make what we call the CAPA, corrective action. We do it on the spot, and for me not to be involved on daily basis of the similar problems, I would jot down what I call a preventive action that they will be able to take so that they will take it as a model for them to apply for the next deals and don't have to bother me with the similar problems. So it's more of a troubleshooting and training at the same time. So having worked with those suppliers over the years with dining and visiting more frequent, and they're realizing the pleasure and passion of their growth without any tough conditions that will jeopardize their business sustainability. On the other hand, it was always lifting their business up from one level into another level. And as the years have gone by, we've always felt proud. The relationship is more sustainable. They add up to my bottom line, and I add up to theirs as well.
Mm. Yeah, that's awesome. Um, Dr. Salam, who are you looking out in the industry? Who are you looking at? Who's pushing the boundaries? Who are you always keeping an eye on?
Well, to be honest, the first one I looked up to was my dad. He was the one who taught me the business and the tricks of the trade in the sense that you gotta be always honest with your buyers or suppliers. You gotta be transparent. And there is always a shortcut, which is from a starting to an end, there is a straight line. Don't go around the bushes and try to make up stories. You got a problem, sit and sort it out, make sure it's timely handled and nobody's hurt. So I would say my dad was the role model. He taught me the business even up to the years when I lost him in 2014. I've realized I've lost a mentor, I've lost a father, I've lost, how shall I say, the whole world was to me around circling about my dad because he's always supported every decision that I've made. And times when I had gray areas about the business, when I was tempted to do something that would have gotten me a little bit of extra buck, but wasn't really on the main ethics of the business models, he said, "No, Salam, never take a shortcut. It doesn't pay off if you consider a winning situation without considering the other party on the other side. He is winning of a similar magnitude or he is evolving along with you. So that is my role model. I've had a few of the industry people that I would always think of them quite highly. To be honest, when I joined BIR, it was in the year 1988, 2 years right after I established the company in Dubai. I feel like flattered by being asked by non-ferrous division president of the BIR, Larry Sachs. May God bless his soul now. I used to always call him Uncle Larry. Okay. He took me as a board member of for the non-ferrous division at the BIR, and I worked my way up to a vice president of the non-ferrous division under his presidency. And then when he left that division to somebody else, I had the option to take the ambassadors committee chairmanship. And I was at that time barely 39 years old. I thought, wow, to be a chairman for an ambassadors committee, it was a great deal. So I wanted to really step up into that committee. It gave me the whole world connections. And so, yes, Larry Sachs was a main driver to boost my morale. He always spoke highly about me, and I had a lot of high regards for his close relationship. He was also making a broadcast related to Scrap magazine in the US. And he said, Salam, I'm not the writing type who would like to send a lot of emails. I would call you once a week on a broadcast and have a Q&A with you one on one. And it would last for almost 30 minutes.
Hmm.
It was very enjoyable. And it was really published on the Scrap magazine. And I still think of him in high regards. And he would be the second one that I would think highly of. And I have a lot of others, and I will not really name a list of it right now. I enjoy a very good relationship with a lot of people from ISRI, from BIR, and from world associations. But yeah, after my dad, I would say Larry Sachs was the one who has been in my initial stages of the BIR, which gave me the boost and confidence.
Perfect. Yeah, they sound fantastic. Um,
I used to call him uncle. He used to call me nephew. Okay.
there
So,
you
though
go.
we have no
That's what this
relationships,
industry.
but it's the
Yeah,
love and affection which got us
of
so close
course.
together.
That's what this industry is all about. Quickly
Sure.
before we go, let's get to know you a little bit better. Have you got a favorite TV series or movie?
Oh, well, I am not a lot of TV fan, but when I do tune into the TV, I like the episode Suits.
Yeah, awesome. It
Suits
is
is
great.
something that I would like to watch. My family think it's boring to get too much business and attires. Okay, I'm a very well-dressed guy when I go to office, not because I love putting a tie and a nice suit. So suits just suited me nice with their attires. Apart
Yeah.
from the a lot of the tricks of the trade of the lawyers and how companies really. So that suits is would be the one that I would name.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Favorite place to go and visit?
Oh, I would say Greece.
Beautiful.
I had my
Food's
honeymoon in
amazing.
Greece. It has a lot of good memories. I love the culture and the food and the ambience
Mm,
there.
amazing. Do you read any books? A lot of books. What's your favorite book?
Well, books in the sense that I now, with the new gadgets, you have your phone, which has all the e-books that
Mm,
you could read and listen to a book in
yeah.
less than 15 minutes. To be honest, when I go to the gym, I put my headsets on and I would be having three books. Either it's business related or social or dietary, whatever you call it. But I used to have a very typical book that I used to carry with me as I travel those days. It was Trading Up. Trading Up is about a story where somebody worked his way to the Wall Street market, and it's got to do with hedging and not a very interesting book to a lot of people, but I found it related to my business, and I enjoyed it because I found it is of relevance to what I do. Yeah, but nowadays with a 15 minutes book, you can listen and read together. You know what? They made it so easy for you to be a
Yeah.
reader. And if you're not a reader, you're not a learner. So, you read three books, you've
Correct.
learned a lot of uh, 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 people's life experiences out of it. And it is really of interest. And it is so easy, as you're working out, you're biking, put the
Yeah,
book on your headset, and
easy.
you've covered some
Absolutely.
reading already.
Have you got a
Uh,
favorite quote?
well, I got two quotes. Maybe one is related to business and one is not. Uh, One is that I would always apply to my business as well. Don't bite more than what you can chew
Right.
is one,
Very good. Yeah.
and that had to do a lot with business over trading and trading within your boundaries. It fits just right there, and it
Mm.
is of help. The other one is maybe not related to business, but I would say, and I share the quote that I like is if God didn't make it, don't take it. And that's related to a lot of food. A lot of
Yeah.
people eat junk food, okay, and processed food. And I tell my family, if God didn't make it, don't take it. Try to go with the natural food.
Mm.
Go for a nice, beef steak, which is right, tenderloin cut, is better than a ton of burgers that could be full with crap and you don't know what is gone in there.
Yeah,
So
it's
these
awesome.
two quotes, I would say, I found in one of the favorites. And I would say that learning through the ages, I would say I'm proudly saying that I have been involved for close to 40 years of business with hands on. And
Mm.
I would add another 60 years of my dad's legacy and experience. So maybe I can call myself one of those dinosaurs who can fit into 100 years of experience, cumulative experience.
Yeah.
And today I would fit for the century club of the Isri because I have already passed, I'm 62 as we speak. I just had March the 6th birthday recently.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would say that with the 62 years of age and 38 plus years of business, I would qualify definitely for that century club of the United
Yeah.
States, which has been topped up not only by the trading experience and legacy that I am having the intake of it and passing on to the next generation. My three sons have taken over the business. And by the way, my grandson, whose name is Salam Jr. the third, goes to the yard. He's 9 years old now,
Amazing.
and he goes and gets his pocket money right out of the backyard operations. And it's really a legacy that I feel proud of. Maybe this is why the Bureau Middle East Recycling has, after I have founded and being a president for 13 years or 10 years plus 3 years of honorary chairman, now gave me the position of the advisory council chairman and the chairman for the advocacy committee. It's nice to learn and pass the knowledge down the line,
Mm. Mm.
and it's part of learning and keep on learning and passing on the knowledge. This is how it circulates and it evolves along the line.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. And you do so much for the industry. So we have to go. So, but firstly, thank you. I just want to say thank you so much. This was very, very informative. Always love chatting to you. Looking forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks for being on the show.
Well, Stu, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure talking to you and thinking out of the box. It's something we don't have the opportunity to speak about every time, but feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to share some time with you.
Thanks, Dr. Salam. Keep well.
All the
Cheers.
best. Thank you. God
Bye.
bless you.